couple of years ago, I decided that I was going to build my own fishery business. And I've now managed to build my own venue, Kev's Pool, in my back garden. And even leasing another large lake, going through all the rules and regulations of gaining planning permission. And today, it's time for me to lay down the law. Last year, I posted my first video showing how I was going to build my first venue from scratch. Since then, I have dug, planted, filled, repaired, stocked, re-repaired, dived, re-repaired again, and even built luxury accommodation to get us closer to the point of opening my first venue. And none of it has come cheap. To date, I've spent several $100,000 on this project. But I am finally getting closer to completion and giving you guys an actual date that we'll be opening from. Probably the start of next year. But recently I have allowed several friends to fish the lake. Most recently my friend Tom.
All 3 rods went. I had the 2 smaller ones.
And of course Mr. Carpentry. And Lenny. But with all these people fishing the lake and with more of you guys probably going to be getting here soon, it's now time that I need to put together a set of rules. But why do you need rules? Well, in the UK, we have thousands of fisheries, from rivers, lakes, reservoirs, canals, locks, and these can be both commercial and rural. Some venues are operated by commercial companies like Linear Fisheries, and some are just very rural, but every single one of them usually has something in common: a rules list. Now these rules lists are put in place to help police 3 main things: the safety and the welfare of the abuse and welfare of the venue, and the safety of anglers. But some fisheries have over 60 lines on their rule sheet, and to me that does seem a bit extensive. However, sometimes things do get a little bit controversial, and sometimes even controversial products are released that send the angling community into absolute meltdown. This is it. So today we're going to be running some tests and figuring out what to ban and what not to ban. And by the end, I should have my own rule sheet to be able to govern my first venue. So now it's time for our first rule to go onto the sheet, and it actually involves one of these. Now, this little card in my hand is called a rod license, and you need one to go fishing anywhere in the UK. Anglers found fishing without a rod license can face fines up to £2,500 and even have their gear confiscated by bailiffs on the bank. So believe it or not, someone could be fishing on my lake with the gates locked in the back garden, but because it's a registered fishery online as Kev's Pool, the bailiffs could waltz in, walk straight up to the lake and check if the person fishing had one of these, even if it was me. So to put that into context, I could be fishing on my own lake in my own back garden that I paid for the fish for, sat there, and if I don't have one of those cards, they can come and confiscate all of my gear and fine me £2,500 for simply fishing in my own lake. So the first rule, just to make it easy for that not to happen, to go on the sheet, is anglers that come to Kev's Pool must be in possession of a valid rod license. Now for rule number 2, we're going on to fish welfare and to a very controversial topic in the world of angling: barbed or barbler. The barbed versus barbless debate has been ongoing in the UK for centuries. And essentially it's like this. Some people believe that a barbless hook is better for the fish because it obviously doesn't have no little barbed bit on it, meaning when it goes in, it can just smoothly come out the hole that it kind of went in. Where some people think that barbed hooks are better because when the hook goes in, because of the little pinprick barb on it, it stays in and then doesn't wiggle about. However, when you pull it out, people think that that then causes a tear, so that they think that this is worse for a fish's mouth than this. And some people think that this is worse for a fish's mouth than this. You get me? And some very well-respected venues are completely divided over this, with top well-respected groups like the Carp Society, with venues like Horseshoe Lake choosing the barbless side, with others like Linear Fisheries choosing the microbarb side. We are actually going to make an entire second channel video on the barbed versus barbless debate, aren't we, Louis?
Sure.
Louis runs the second channel, Child Labour Services, is here with me today, and we both think that you should go and subscribe to that second channel shown on screen right now, so go and subscribe to it. However, today on Kev's Pool, my personal opinion, I'm going to put my body armour on and say that I am going to be allowing barbed hooks, more specifically micro barbed hooks on Kev's pool, rather than barbless. Now that is because I'm on the side that believes, from all my fishing that I did when I was younger, teenager, competing in the comps, fishing on linear, fishing on horseshoe, I think that a micro barbed hook goes in, stays in one place, doesn't wiggle about so much, and causes less damage to the fish. So for rule 2 on Kev's pool, we're going micro barbed hooks only to be allowed. So yes, anglers will only be allowed to use micro barbed hooks up to a maximum size of 4. Now with that very important rule now added, it's time to get back to some other rules I should be imposing. Fishing is only permitted in the authorised swim where Child Labour Services is standing, because I don't really want anybody setting up anywhere else around the lake. And this is just because I want to keep the majority of the noise in this corner. And this peg accesses the whole of the lake anyway. You can literally cast anywhere from here. Funnily enough, we're surrounded by farmers with hay bales and things like an entire wooden fence. So I don't think allowing the use of open fires anywhere around the lake for people to set up and start is a great idea.
Bit of wood.
You will also receive the full wrath of my mother Terry.
Triangle, where are people going to park?
No drones are to be brought onto the property without permission. To be honest, it never ends well when I use them. So there is simply no need to fly drones. Welcome to my drone graveyard. There is also one in the lake, to be fair. No use of a boat of any description, especially this one. Bait boats will be allowed because I don't really see why not. However, the use of this boat and people out there, maybe without even life jackets on, does not sound like something that is entirely necessary on a lake that most people class as a pond. And this is just because I want to keep people safe. See, I know what the lake's like underfoot, where the deep spots are, where the shallow bits are, and where the shelves are, but you guys won't. So I'd rather keep people out of the water than in it. On most fisheries, anglers are only allowed to be in their swim or within around 10 metres of where they're fishing from. So for argument's sake, if someone was fishing from here, they'd only be allowed to normally be in this general vicinity or inside the lodge. However, many of you have called my lake a pond, probably is a pond. That means that it isn't very big. Therefore, I'm not sure if I have to be quite so strict, because people might be going down this right-hand margin and any of the margins really to bait up, and it would be rather annoying to reel your rods in the process. So, what I'm thinking is that people should be allowed probably to bait up down the 2 banks closest to the lodge. This right-hand one and this bank over here where the fence is to the left, but it's probably a little bit too far if you're right over in the other corner of the lake over there to get all the way back here in time. However, part of me did wonder, would it be quicker to get from the other side of the lake to the swim than it would if you were asleep in the lodge at night, getting out of bed, getting your shoes on and running out to hit your rods if you had a take? And for that, I had a little idea. So brought someone in to help me. I need to allow for the fact that not all anglers are 25 and go to the gym 3 days a week. And some might be a little bit more like James, my business partner and founder of Gert Wings. So the challenge is, I'm gonna have you in the bed in there. This is the first part of the challenge. And the rod is gonna scream into action. And we're gonna time how long it takes to get from that bed, out the bed, down here, and to the rods and hit them into action. Right. And then the second part of this is we're going to see how long it would take to get from the far side of the lake round there by the pylon to the rods here and see what the difference is.
Right.
You ready for this?
Can't wait.
You're going to go, which way do I think? I think it's the same distance from either side, but I reckon if you were to pick one, if you were right over there, you'd probably go round this side.
Yeah.
And that's the flattest route as well. That's what
I'm
we'll
gonna
do.
buckle my ankle.
Right, first, this is the first.
I'll get naked.
No, well, you can get your lycra if you want. So, we need you in this bed here.
In it?
In it. Alright. Yeah, shoes on. You have to have your shoes down here on the floor. That's it. So then you have to slip them on like you would if you were in the night, getting your shoes on to get down to the lake, and then you need to pick up the rod and hit it into action. And that is when I will stop the timer on my phone.
I've got to pick one of the rods up.
You've got to whack it into action. When you lift that rod up, it's done.
Right. Just pick it up.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Okay. So I'm going to go and stand down by the rods. I'm going to start the timer. How am I going to do this? Because I'm filming. I need to do the rods. So hang on. Let's turn you round. I'm going to start the timer in. There we go. It started. Away! There's a fish on. It's pulling the rod into the lake. It's pulling the rod into the lake. We're there in the night. The clock. Left-hand rod into action. Okay, we have a time. We have a time. Our time is 16.9 seconds to get from there. That was a valiant effort, sir. A valiant effort. But now it's time to see how long it would take James to get to the rods from the other side of the lake, compared to being in the lodge. You're gonna lose it! Oh, stop! We have our time. There was a slight difference.
Flying around everywhere.
There was. So I think that test has just proved the point that I think I can allow fishing on this bank here to the right and this bank here to the left. Will allow people to bait up from both banks and walk down these two to whilst their rods are out. But I think if you're on the far side of the lake over by the pylon, probably a little bit too far for some.
I wouldn't bother.
Next rule. And any angler found not to have Gert sauces in the fridge with them will be having a stern warning. Now, of course, yes, I'm only joking, but one of my businesses away from Fowler Fisheries that ticks along in the background is Gert Wings and Gert Sauces. It's a business that I invested into last year alongside the amazing founder James. However, Gert Sauces was born from my love of visiting our food trucks and having the amazing wings with our most incredible flavours of sauce over the top. So we now have our own online store that sells and bottles nearly all of our amazing flavours. Gert Wings operates several trucks all across the southwest, and to find out where your nearest location is, I've left a link in the description to head down and try some of our amazing food. A little tip off, if you want to bump into me and talk to me about Fowler Fisheries, then get yourself down on a Wednesday night to the Swindon location, where you will usually find me gorging on wing. However, if you're further afield or just completely under the thumb and not allowed out, then this is for you. I've also left a link to our online store that sells all of our incredible sauces. My personal favourite is buffalo, but I've got an amazing gift set that I've put together just for you. So there's a link in the description and a discount code appearing on screen now, which I'm sure is very creative, for you to go and get a nice little discount off some sauce too. Let me know if it blows your head off in the comments, and I look forward to you trying. Anyway, back to the rules. So after that challenge, I am finalising that rule that all anglers are allowed to go up this left-hand bank, and I'm going to put a little marker on the fence up there, and this right-hand bank over here to bait up if they're fishing down those margins. I think being on the complete other side of the lake over there is probably taking the mickey a little bit too much, so we'll say that to do that, you'd have to wind your rods in. Anglers are only going to be able to use nets, slings and mats provided by us, which I don't think anyone is going to be moaning at, so they won't actually have to have any dirty stuff in their car. But why are we doing this? The reason for this is the risk of bringing disease in from other lakes such as KHV, and it also means our guests don't have to load up their cars with stinky nets and way slings. Now onto a slightly controversial one. Self-hooking triggering devices, I'm not sure the correct terminology, but a product like the Magic Twig, which is designed to aid the hooking of the fish, done from OMC and Ali Hamidi. This was very controversial and caused a big stir online, but personally, I have known Ali since I was a kid. I've been friends with him throughout the BYCAC and all the competitions that I used to do. And also, I'm a massive fan of Rob Hales and his fisheries, RH Fisheries, which has chosen to allow this product. There's not a lot of data been put out into the public eye yet about how it actually performs. So for now, I'm going on the side of trusting Ali, trusting Rob at RH, and saying yes to the twig. No loud or antisocial noise to be made at the fishery. So another slightly controversial one, because I've had a lot of people commenting on this, is will I be allowing dogs? Now, as a proud dog owner to a small but very happy dachshund called Jewish.
Was he Jewish?
Because when he was a child, like a little bit of red fluff landing on the back of his head, he looked like he was wearing one of them little Jewish cap things, you know?
Sure.
However, not all dogs are quite as well behaved as Jewish. And they're also not all as quiet. And we do also have neighbours, including Child Labour Services that lives at the top over there, who would probably rather not be hearing people's woofers barking all day. So unfortunately for now, I have chose not to allow dogs. The use of nuts as loose feed or as hook baits is unfortunately banned because one of my fish has a peanut allergy. Only 3 rods are to be used if you're fishing alone. However, if there's 2 people fishing together, I'm happy for them to have 2 rods each. I think with the size of Kev's pool, 3 rods is amazing for one angler, as you've got so much room to fish for. But when there's 2 of you, you definitely don't want that many lines in the water, so I think 2 each would be perfect. Now, entering and exiting the fishery in the summer months, so let's say between the end of March and the beginning of October, people can come into the property via our gates down there and then the otter fence gate up to the fishery between 9 AM and 6 PM, basically in the hours that it's light, because outside of that we don't really know who's then coming in and out. We do live here as well, and I'm going to say that in the summer we have extended hours, 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock at night. So if you want to pop out for a takeaway and all those sorts of things, it's a little bit later. I'm going to say a minimum of 15-pound breaking strain line is to be used on the lake. It doesn't need to be any less than that, because the furthest distance you got to cast is only around 70 yards. Obviously the thicker the line, the slightly harder it is to cast, but 15-pound should be nice and tough in case you get enthralled in any of the reeds that are growing out on the lake and able to get those fish through it. So I'm going to say a minimum breaking strain of 15-pound. But as for today's video, if you enjoyed it, make sure that you hit that thumbs up button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and we look forward to showing you many new videos that are coming soon, including one that I've got to do on the pool, because I do have another bit of an issue. What on earth are all of those? But that'll be coming soon, so thank you for watching today's video, and we'll see you soon. Cheers. No!